Welcome back. Joining me is Barbara Resch, the Associate Dean of the IPFW College of Visual and Performing Arts, and she's here to talk about the Indiana Music Educators Association Conference coming to Fort Wayne this week. Good to have you on the show, Barbara.
Thank you.
What is the Indiana Music Educators Association? What role do you play here in the state?
Indiana Music Educators Association, or we call it IMEA, is the state unit of our National Association for Music Education. And it's kind of unique in that it's an umbrella organization for all music educators. So we have members who teach preschool music all the way through folks who teach university level music. And we also have college chapters. We have a college chapter here at IPFW. My role at this moment is past president. And as past president, I'm also the chair of this year's conference. Okay,
now the conference, this is the second of 3 years that the conference is in Fort Wayne.
Right.
Big coup. I must say that you have been recently congratulated for being a hometown hero, as they call it. Yeah, because this brings in a lot of money to Fort Wayne.
And honestly, that wasn't really in the back of my mind when I made the move. But
we like that, though.
Yeah, well, I guess we do. The facilities here in Fort Wayne are wonderful for this conference. It's a very good fit. We have about 1,000 attendees, as well as a whole raft of performances. So we have a lot of good spaces to have sort of the traditional conference sessions, but we also have a lot of performances, and the performance spaces in Fort Wayne are wonderful. We're using the Embassy Theater, the Allen County Public Library Theater, First Presbyterian Church, as well as the Grand Wayne Convention Center. So we've got a lot of really great spaces.
Right, and for people who haven't been down there recently, they all connect to each other. Well, not the library, but you know, you can stay at the hotel, and you can walk over to the embassy and to the convention center. And this convention has actually been in Indianapolis for many years.
As long as anyone can remember, it's been in Indianapolis, and since '95, it was at the Indiana Convention Center in Indianapolis.
Well, what are some of the people? And the people are coming from all over the state.
They are.
Music educators from high school and college, from all over the state. What are some of those people saying about Fort Wayne, and how are they finding the experience of attending the convention here?
I think one of the things that immediately struck people was that the affordability of our venues, hotels and parking and so forth, are much less than they were in Indianapolis. And as I said, the facilities are wonderful for music making. Something that people were both struck with, I think, was the friendliness of the folks in the venue. You know, at the convention center, they have people who are walking around answering questions and directing, and everybody sort of had a favorite Fort Wayne hospitality story. The only people who are not very happy are those from Evansville, because it's a long drive from the,
I'm sure.
southwest end of the state.
It is, but it's really a nice city to have a convention in, and I think more and more people are finding out about that. But back now to the actual IMEA convention. It starts later this week, and on February 20th, you have your headline performance, the Canadian Brass.
It's January 20th, actually.
I'm sorry, January 20th. You have the Canadian Brass coming in, and tell us a little bit about this group.
Well, we're very excited about that. We always have a concert on Friday night of the conference, and we're able this year to get Canadian Brass. They play Conn-Selmer instruments, and Conn-Selmer is a great friend of IMEA and a sponsor of their appearance.
That's a company?
Yes, it's a musical instrument company in Elkhart. Canadian Brass has been around for a long time, so the membership has changed. It now has one of its original members and 4 young brass players, and it's a wonderful group. They're playing in the Embassy, as you said, on Friday the 20th at 8 o'clock, and that is open to the public. Right,
buy tickets, just contact the Embassy Theater, go online. I'm sure our audience can get tickets.
Right.
But there are a lot of other concerts, and they're all free, about 18 concerts. And you know, one of the ones that I'm really excited about is the Intercollegiate Honors Band. Tell us a little bit about that, the Honors Band here.
Every year we also have a college group that plays, and these students are selected from colleges and universities around Indiana. They come together, as several of our honor groups do, for the first time at the conference. So they rehearse for about a day and a half, get their music together, and then they perform as one of the convention acts. Yeah, we've got several students from IPFW who made it into that group, so it'll be fun to watch them.
So this band really consists of the best music students, would one say, in the state of Indiana, which is a state that has a lot of good music in it.
These are the best college music students, right?
Best college music students. And so how many students are coming in from IPFW?
There are 6 from IPFW who made it into the group.
Well, that's wonderful. Northrop High School has a great reputation, great music department there. They're represented as well.
They are. In addition to those honor auditioned ensembles that are put together by kids who audition from around the state, we also have a process where schools and community groups can send in audition CDs. And we have a blind audition, and the Northrop Jazz Band #1 with Jason Witzegruder as their conductor was chosen. So that's the only jazz group that was chosen.
In the whole state?
Yes.
Northrop's a good school to go to if you're interested in jazz, correct?
Northrop has a great tradition of jazz. You know, Barry Ashton was there for a long time, and the Barry Ashton Jazz Festival continues.
And again, you can see them play free?
Absolutely,
right
yes.
down, I think that one's going to be at the
That one's in the theater at the Allen County Public Library. That's a really nice little space for a group that size.
Right. And then we also have the younger kids playing as well. Tell us about that. We have the choir, the Elementary Middle School Honors Choir.
Yep, we have a junior high band that's playing, and then we also have these two choirs, the elementary one and the middle school one, about 140 students in each group, so it's really quite impressive. I think our community is probably familiar with Circle the State with Song, which is a statewide choral festival that happens actually later in the year, in February. But kids who are chosen for that are then auditioned a second time and chosen to be into this group. So it's a pretty selective group. It's hard to get in. They have to prepare an audition with the help of their teacher, and a panel listens to all of those CDs. So these kids also are coming from around the state. They're supposed to come in knowing their music, and then they get together for about a day and a half with the guest conductor, prepare the music, and then perform it at the embassy.
How old are they?
The elementary one is, I think, grades 4, 5, and 6, and then the middle school can have 6th graders and 7th and 8th graders.
Sounds like a lot of fun. Again, all free.
Yeah.
Just changing topics a little bit, Barbara. You know, in this era, and since we're talking about kids in school and K through 12, in this era where we're emphasizing, you know, science and technology, engineering and math in our schools for very good reason. You know, it has a lot to do with, you know, where the jobs are. To a certain extent, has music been, and the arts in general, been devalued in this mix? Or I guess a better way to put it is, what is the importance of music education in this era that's so focused on these other STEM subjects?
You're so right. There has been such an emphasis on the STEM subjects. I think in a way that's linked to the economic times in which we are, in which some folks will say that those are the subjects that are folks trained in those subjects are going to have jobs in the state, bring money into the state. I think we can certainly say the same thing for the arts. But probably you and I and most folks watching this program understand that the arts address the whole person, and that there are aspects of humanness that just are not addressed in the STEM subjects, that the arts give us the opportunity to be creative, to be expressive, to do things in groups, as so many of these ensembles provide that opportunity for students. So it really fills out a person's life.
It does, and you know, and we were talking before the show how just having to practice an instrument, it's much harder to please the music teacher sometimes than it is to pass that test. I mean, it's discipline and it's focus, and one learns that playing music as well as teamwork.
Sure. So there are a lot of those sort of extrinsic benefits that come from doing music, especially in a group. It's very hard to put your finger on what music does for one's soul. But one of the wonderful things out of being with IMEA and getting to talk to some of the students who've been in these ensembles is what a never to be forgotten experience it is for them to be participating in these wonderful music making opportunities and things that can't be duplicated in other activities.
You know, it's interesting if one was to do just a simple mind exercise, just use one's imagination a little bit and said, if you had all the money in the world and you could send your kid to any exclusive private school or give them any education they wanted, homeschool, you name it, would you include the arts in that mix? And I bet most parents would say, of course I would. I would like to have that for my kids, as well as sports and other things. But somehow or another, when it comes down to public education, you know, we're perfectly willing to let those things go when we would value them if we could. And I just think that that's an interesting thing to think about. At the same time, you know, there's another sort of issue coming up, and this is a more broad question. that the Indiana Department of Education is really thinking about changing the rules of the way teachers are prepared for the classroom, where they don't necessarily need to be trained, in the content area, whether it's math or music or art or anything else. As long as they pass a test, they can teach anything. What's the problem with that in music?
There are a few problems with that. One is that there has been, for the last few years, a focus in Indiana on the content area, and the notion that someone who is competent in a content area is therefore able to teach it. And I think any of us who've been in a classroom realize that just knowing the subject area does not necessarily make you comfortable in dealing with a group of children who have a diverse range of abilities and issues. So there's that part of it. The other is that the state is trying to tie competence to performance on a standardized test. And when we think about that in music, it's preposterous to think that by filling in bubbles on a standardized test, one would be able to demonstrate competence in music, which is such an active, participatory kind of...
Here, take this written test and we'll know whether you can teach music or not. You don't have to play an instrument, and it's just a little bit silly, I think.
Yeah, it is.
Well, anyway, very, very interesting discussion, but I'm sure you're going to be talking about all those kinds of things at the convention coming up this weekend, right here in Fort Wayne, the Indiana Music Educators Association Conference. Barbara, thank you for coming on the show, and good luck with the conference.
Thank you, Chuck.
For more information about the Indiana Music Education Association, visit IMEAmusic.org. To get tickets for the Canadian Brass Concert at the Embassy, call the Embassy box office at 424-6287. And to find a complete listing of all 18 free IMEA concerts, go to visitfortwayne.com. Arts Weekly airs every week, Tuesday through Thursday on College Access Television and most Sundays on WFWA PBS 39. You can also see us on YouTube and Facebook and follow us on Twitter. I'm Chuck O'Connor. Thanks for tuning into Arts Weekly. Join me next week with Sarah Nordling and John Gievers from the Continuum Art Gallery and artists Dominic Manco and Russell Biles. Recently, Arts Weekly spoke with Dorothy Kataka and Satyanara Rizzo from the Fort Wayne Sister Cities International.
It is a city that really embraces and supports the arts. I mean, I'm not originally from Fort Wayne, but when I first moved here, I was really surprised at the support. You know, you have a ballet, a lot of community theater groups, the art museum, and you know, also the vibrant arts community in the universities as well. And so I think it's fitting that our airport has sculpture like the Indianapolis Airport has it.
Watch Arts Weekly on Sundays at 7:30 p.m. on WFWA PBS.
Recently, Arts Weekly spoke with Barbara Resch from the IPFW College of Visual and Performing Arts.
It's very hard to put your finger on what music does for one's soul, but one of the wonderful things out of being with IMEA and getting to talk to some of the students who've been in these ensembles is what a never to be forgotten experience it is for them to be participating in these wonderful music making opportunities and things that can't be duplicated in other activities.
Watch Arts Weekly on Sundays at 7:30 p.m. on WFWA PBS.